Hello. Can we continue color inking this cover? This is the mock-up for the cover, Vampires #2. This is sort of a detailed mock-up, but I really wanted to see what I was trying to do, so I colored up these pencils. And this is some Vampires Below deck. So that's the mock-up. I'll get that out of the way. And this is the sketch for it. You can see I got a lot to do on this. That's just the pencils. Let's see if we can turn on some of the inks. Here we put here. This is in the way. But I've got that's the tightened up pencils. And you can see the overlay of where that we're going to see through on the cover. This is the opening double page spread. So I'll close that off, and then I'll add some more of the inks that I did. So you can see I did these bats up along here first, and then let's see, more bats, and then I started working on these guys down here in the last Periscope, flushing them one in at a time. And I think that's where we're at right now. So basically I'm just going to pick a vampire to work on and then ink them one at a time. Is that blurry? Sort of looks blurry to me. Oh well. So these guys, they're all individuals that appear in the book, so I've got them numbered so I don't forget. And these numbers correspond to trading cards that I've mocked up. So wherever they appear in the book, I've got the different, individuals I've already colored. Because I want to keep the colors consistent. And I haven't made up full model sheets for all these guys. So let's see, this guy was number 24. So let's find 24. There he is. Sort of a ghoulish looking guy. Not much to forget about him, but I want to be a little bit consistent. So choose one of my brushes. I think I'm using this one. Or is it this one? Yeah, it's that one. I'm just throwing some lines on top of here to see where it looks like. There we go. It takes me a while to get warmed up, but having undo in Photoshop helps that a lot. There we go. I was saying in the last Periscope that, it's easy to get too zoomed in on something like this, because in Photoshop you can completely zoom in and then that detail's lost. But I was also mentioning how with the advent of digital comics, people can zoom in as far as they want on their tablets. So I like to give a little more detail than I would have just in a traditional print comic. Let's see. Using the bracket keys, I can just increase the size of the brush, which is nice. I'm constantly nervous I'm on the wrong layer, but yep, that's the right layer. That's something that's totally different in Photoshop than traditional inking, because you can throw a line, and if you're not happy with it, you can just undo. I mean, I can always even, delete it or white it out, but that instantaneous undo makes it so you can really get the angle that you want. Coffee's done. Let's see. I could make these really thin lines if I wanted to, but zooming out, having the thickness of line really helps. When I get done with this completely, I'm going to go back in and spot a lot more blacks to really help with things. And if I turn off the pencils, let's see, you can see how things look a little thin. And but I'll save that till the end when I feel that I've got everything blocked in. I even do a process where I, when I'm done, I'll let a little bit of the pencil seep through because I like that natural look that it has. So it's a hybrid of sort of what you're seeing right now. And it's a real challenge because so much of this I could just do in the color. I could just draw basic outlines of all the shapes and then do everything I'm doing with the shading or the shadows and values with the colors instead of the inks. But, I mean, I really like traditional comics, so I like inks. I came from doing black and white comic books, so, you know, before, like, I think it was 92, actually, yeah, around 93, I started coloring comic books for Wildstorm, and I was a complete novice, and I didn't, you know, I had a color theory, but it wasn't very good, and it took me years to really, in my opinion, get good at color. But I came from really appreciating black and white comic books. You know, that's just too much playing right there. I'm just having fun. So I'll go back in and black everything in. A lot of people think it's just like, why don't you stick with the original pencils? It just looks like you're tracing over the same lines. I understand that, but the finished product, you see people that just color their pencils and it has a mushy kind of look. And having solid black lines really sells the comic book feel. That's a weird balance that's been going on, is people have, you know, if you can digitally paint, you know, why not just do this whole comic, you know, beautiful paintings and, you know, all kinds of effects. But that's really the problem that people don't understand, is that you don't want reality. You want, like, you know, some personal touch or imagination to show through. When you have a full painting in a comic book, it can work, but it also just slows you down as you're reading, and it really messes with the pace of a comic book. Where if something's really graphic, it sort of instructs you on how fast you're supposed to be reading the story. I don't know if people get that, but something like this, you know, on purpose, I'm throwing in a lot of detail because it's the opening double page spread. And I want people to open it and go, "Wow, Vampyrates, Vampire Pirates." But as the story moves along, I don't want as much details because I want them to start reading the story, and the words can be a great deal more important than the artwork. So this is the next page after this. You know, they're jumping up through the deck. I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's not as much detail in this, and I don't want there to be. This is probably still too much detail, but people don't get that about when you're making a comic book. They think, oh, I just want to make it all this great artwork, and you know, it's not about that. It's about the story. At least in my opinion. I might be able to see comments today. The other day I didn't have it set up so I could. I'm really not liking what this hair is looking like. But I found that, you know, if you just sit and noodle until it's perfect, it'll slow down your process and an organic feel. So it's better just to move on, and then if it's still bothering you when you look at it again, then go back and fix it. It's better to keep moving. I can use an eraser. Oop, and set my eraser, harder eraser. I use lots of hotkeys in Photoshop, so it's if you're watching me when I color or when I draw, it's really hard to tell what I'm doing. So sometimes when I'm doing tutorials, I'm yelling out which keys I'm hitting as I'm going on. Most of them are the traditional Photoshop hotkeys, but a lot of them I reassign to Photoshop hotkeys that I've developed or used since the earlier versions of Photoshop. It just makes it faster for me. Okay. Something like this too. I jump around pages a lot when I ink, or even when I color, because if I get bored, it slows me down, and I just want to find a more interesting thing to work on. The entire time trying to, also in the back of my mind, keep in mind that I'm of the whole piece. It probably would serve me to do more of a traditional thing, which inkers do, and that's called spotting your blacks, where I go through and everywhere there's a dark area, just plop that in, and then you start developing a sense of where you actually need this detail that I'm putting in. So it would be easy to say that I'm just noodling, which I wouldn't argue with you, but it's a lot of fun. I'm currently coloring the next issue of Justice League United and Grayson and an image book, but I'm finding that if I take a little bit of time and work on some of my own stuff, it sort of recharges my energy for those books. And actually, inking is a different part of my brain too, so when I go back to coloring, then it makes me think of the coloring different. Hope it's not too boring. It's really hot here in San Diego today, but on the last Periscope, the fan was a little bit loud, so I'm trying to brave it. It's hard to complain about working on comic books. People don't really want to hear it. Oh, you had a hard day at work. Also, the last time I did this, a couple days ago, the Periscope crashed, so I'll probably end this soon just to see if I can save it off. We'll see. Yeah, you can see how long this will take. But again, I'm throwing a lot of detail on this first double page spread because I want people to open it up, the double page spread, and go, oh wow, this is the kind of comic book I'm getting. I've told people that when I started doing Vampyrates, my friend Kevin came up with the idea, and when I wanted to draw it, all I was thinking about was Bruce Campbell films. Just making fun, like horror comic books. I don't know, that's sort of fun for me. I mean, with the title like Vampyrates, that's, can't really go too highbrow. Maybe you could. The first issue is up on Comixology right now, and I should have had this one up, a year ago, but I got really busy with coloring work, and it's hard to turn down just really big projects with really good creators. It's, I can't really. I say that, and I just turned down 2 projects this week that I would have just died to have had before, but I'm too busy with my current stable of books, which again is not a complaint. It's just what happens. Boy, those are some ugly fingers. I could have reference up, but sometimes I like just going for it. And if it's bugging me later, I just change it. Let's review some of the stuff that was on this page that I inked. This is some bats that are upside down. Here's some more bats sleeping. So this is below deck before they burst out onto the main deck and have a big pirate battle. This guy was fun. More Vampyrates. Might be strange, like, to see, like, I'll throw a line and then get rid of it, like, so quickly. But if it's not working, I just get rid of it. Of course, I just was talking to a friend last night that he finished an entire book, which most people, that would be the biggest accomplishment ever. And he's going to go back and redraw it. I mean, he's talented enough where he'll be able to do it quickly. And it will look better, but most people, they're just trying to get one issue done. Me included. I've self-published, a number of comics. I'm known for my coloring, but it's come a long way. The advent of digital comics is really fun, especially if you're a publisher. There was such a barrier before to get people to see your stuff, but of course now you can just throw it up and everyone can take a look at it. You can even monetize it with Amazon or Comixology. So yeah, again, this will be finished inked, and then it'll fit into. This will be the cover. And if it was a print comic, it would be great because you could do a die cut where you'd cut this out of the cover and just see through to the first page. So you'd open the comic and then this would be underneath. But this is more for a digital rather than the print version. And so you'll just open it up and you'll see the different color. And that leads into this page. And then a big giant Vampyrate battle. You can see what I do a lot with the colors. So it's really dumb to go too far with the inks. This is appearing dark on the screen, but I have my monitor set so it works with print colors. Obviously, because I work on a lot of print comic books. Okay, I'm going to do about another minute or two and then save off the Periscope because last time I lost it. So hopefully I don't lose this one. The first issue of Vampyrates, I had my friend John Ty ink the comic traditionally because I am not that good of an inker. I'm happy to say I'm a good colorist, but inking is very difficult. Oh, it's a sad song. Oh, he's getting emotional. Oh, no. Sorry. Yep, just jumping around. I don't know if that seems weird to people that, I don't stick on one character or one section and go all the way through. It's just, if my interest is not being held, I just move on, and it keeps me going at a pretty good pace. If I could, I sort of did this. I was, committed to inking these outer bat characters first, and then I started over here doing this edge, sort of working myself towards the center. And that's another thing I was thinking about, is that as I've been moving along, I've been developing how I want to use these digital inks more and more. So by the time I get to these central characters that will show up on the cover, or wherever that is, hopefully those inks will be the best, although I just did ink that. So much in the back of my brain, I'm thinking about how much when I'm done with this first pass of inks, I'm going to go back and add so many blacks, because this is supposed to be, you know, beneath, you know, below deck, so it should be really dark, and they're vampires, so they don't want any of the sunlight, so they're jumping out right at sunset, so, but there's some light seeping through. Spoiler alert. Okay, getting ready to log off and save this puppy off. So if you have any questions, shout them now. Otherwise, I'll be back with another Periscope, hopefully further along, and then finally I'll do the Periscope of the coloring of it. And that will take so long that I'll probably just do it in sections as well. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate the hearts. Cool. Thanks a lot.